everyone. So welcome to another episode على podcast Koon Rijjeil. So today, as you can tell, or not, I don't know, I'm all alone. There's no one here. It's just me. It's a solo episode today. But it's actually with someone that you don't see. It is somebody who walks around with me every day. Somebody who I've been neglecting for a very long time. Haven't given them a lot of attention recently. And that is, a younger Karim. So just to show you what younger Karim looks like, in case you don't know who younger Karim is. Can people see this? Can you see? I don't know. So that's the younger Karim who, growing up felt that he couldn't make it very far. Felt that, everything in the world was happening for no reason. The world was against him and everything. But you know what? Actually, we made it together today. And actually, when I went to my last therapy session and we spoke about this, I almost broke down to tears when I thought about how far we've come, but also how much I've neglected you and your emotions so far. Whether it be in my day-to-day interactions, if there's any conflicts or if there's any problems that I have or anything really that hurts me, I often always think with the adult Karim first rather than Karim الصغير. كريم الطفل اللي بعده جوا عم بينبسط عم بيضحك عم بينطنط عم بيتهبل وبعرف انه زعلتك بس اليوم لإلي هيدا صار it's a new chapter, it's a new start لإلنا اثنيناتنا بدل ما نكون فيك تقول كريم القديم وكريم الجديد لا هنكون كريم واحد لأنه to me that's what's most important is to دايما be true to your true emotions, to be true to your old Karim or your old self. Even if your name is Karim, then that's even better. Just making sure that, whenever you're faced with any problems or conflicts, think about the younger version of yourself. And that might actually open up your eyes to a lot of things, which I've realized recently. Whenever I have a problem or whatever, I always think about how do I feel, but I never think about my unhealed wounds from 10, 15, 20 years ago that I just never thought about fixing or addressing. This is really the main idea for today's podcast, which is to really pay a tribute to you, baby Karim, who always thought he's going to be awkward, socially shy, had no friends at some point in his life, felt lonely a lot of the times, felt that, the world was against him, إنه ما في شيء عم بيزبط معه, ما كان عم بيعمل منيح بالمدرسة, ما كان الرياضي, which is كمان another Arab or actually another stereotype in general. إنه لازم الولد يكون رياضي, إنه لا لازم, إنه ما فيك تكون لا. So to me that was one thing that I always thought about. Funnily enough, I am that athletic. But anyways, that's a separate story. But really, it's all about, saying thank you to the younger Karim, but Kamena to remember those times that I've suffered alone, and I don't want people to go through that. دايما بقول إنه لازم كل واحد منا to share كل شيء عم بيصير معنا with whoever it is around us, whether it's friends, your family, your therapist, your notebook, your whatever it is. If it's a podcast, great. Share it with the world. Tell people all about it. To me, whenever I think about this, a few memories come up, which actually I've never talked about ever in my life. But you know what? I think today is the time to do it. In school, I was verbally bullied a lot. Whether it was because I was مش إنه feminine, but I didn't do the boys kind of thing. I didn't play a lot of sports. I was always quiet. I was always cautious and safe. وما كنت rebellious. And now looking back, I love that. You know what? I wasn't that, because if I wasn't, then I wouldn't be here where I am today. Hearing things like, أنت منك رجال or you're a wimp, to say it politely, to feel like, I'm not good enough for other people or other things. Now when I look back, أكيد some parts of that still hurt me till today. But I also know that as long as I love myself, that's more important than anything else in the world, more than what anyone else can ever do for me. And you know, at the time as well, when I was younger, I really wasn't smart per se, يعني book smart. وكنت دائما ضل اسمعها. You know, إنه منك ذكي, or even like the small jokes that would go around here and there, إنه yeah, you're this, you're that, you're this, you're, إنه منك ذكي وكيف تعمل هيك وكيف whatever, or you're stupid, or you're not so smart. Yeah, they hurt. That's fine. But at the end of the day, all I can say is look at me now. That's like one of the biggest things I can ever say is that, you know what, I grew past everything I've ever been through and I've done it my way. وهيدا كان شيء عن جد أنا ما كنت أعمله كل حياتي. كنت ضل اسمع إنه هيدا شو بده يعمل، هيدا إنه or هيدا شو بيفكر لحتى أنا خلص براضي whoever it is. And actually it happened to me recently where I started I had this discussion with my mom about something, and deep down what I was feeling was, you know what, I want to do what my mom wants because ما بدي زعلها, because I've زعلتها كتير بحياتي from, you know, from my studies, from how I was at the time, you know. ما كنت هالولد الشاطر. So فأكيد as a kid you always want to تخلي your parents to be proud of you بهالموضوع. فكنت دايما أقول you know ما بدي زعلها, so خلص I'll just do what she wants because of that. This is the inner Karim that's coming out to say, you know what, في still unresolved things that are still from the past, you know, يلي هي you know يلي هي يعني for all the times that I've let you down, this time I'm gonna make it up to you in that sort of way. A lot of times it's hard to come out and say it because you don't know how people are gonna react, honestly. But to me, you know, this is my message, is that دايما فكروا be the younger self. You know, another thing that I used to face a lot of the times with, you know, or even actually during my journey in therapy and trying to outgrow things and work on things, is I've realized, you know, as much as I thought I was doing work on my younger self, I actually wasn't. So I would go in, I would listen, I would interact and all this, but I would never practice per se every day, you know, in terms of how can I heal the younger Karim, which, I mean, for a start, looking at baby Karim and looking at him now is like two very different things. Like this was before I grew into a tree. It was like many years back, but when I look back, I see that on the outside, it was a kid who was very happy, very bubbly, but on the inside, very anxious, scared, worried, not confident at all, believed that he could never go far, who could never do what he wanted to do to be that best version of himself, and not because of the people around him. It's just how he felt about himself. واليوم I can happily say, you know what, I'm happy that I had that side of Karim, but at the same time I want to walk down the road with an old and young Karim and to say, you know what, we're going through this life together, because to me that's what's all important. It's all about, you know what, not letting go of the younger Karim. It's not about telling him, you know what, انت كنت هيك, you were this quote unquote failure and I'm this person who's doing much better than you were. No, it's the complete opposite of that. It's more about taking him along that journey with you, to say, you know what, remembering that younger Karim every single part of the way, remembering him in the times where, you know what, things were tough, things were not easy to deal with as a young kid growing up, even till my late years in university, things that I never ever thought about, which is about school, about my grades, about how I just felt like I never fit in, or I could never fit in, even though, again, on the surface I looked like I was, but I deep down I didn't feel like I did. And yeah, it's a crazy thing to let out, by the way, because I genuinely never spoke about this ever in front of a camera. So yeah, and just one thing that I always think about is I was sort of, okay, I imagine the Teletubbies, the infamous cartoon show, but what I imagine is that son with the face is actually a younger Karim looking down at me and saying, you know what, I'm proud of you. Like, I'm proud of everything that you've done, because you've really pushed the boundaries. You've really tested just how far you can go. And you know what, I can never be more thankful than that in my life. That, you know what, I had the people around me, my family, my friends, who stood by me during my lowest times in my life, my hardest times of my life. But today I'm in a much better place to have a better outlook in my life and how I feel about myself as Karim. All the times that, I felt that, I could never speak up for myself. I needed somebody else to say what I want to say, or I would just be on the hush hush. Yeah, that's not working for me anymore. It's really not. I think there's a turning point in everyone's life where you get to a very big amount of stress, where all of the feelings that you had as a kid start to come out. It's like you've taken in so much of negativity, stress, anxieties, worrying, people being who they are, and sometimes you just need to be yourself, and you need to be true to what you want to do and how you feel about things, because it's not fair to young Karim, it's not fair to young whoever you are to hide away behind your own voice, because you need to, at the end of the day, I always say this, we only live one life. We only live once. وبالعكس اعملوا اللي بدكم اياه. يعني live the way that you want to do it, لأنه يعني life will never wait for somebody. It will never wait for that one time where you say what you want to do, because time moves quick and you need to hurry, and yeah, it's a crazy feeling. Like, even today I was sitting down and I was talking to a friend of mine, and I was saying, like, there's a lot of small things that I think I've never felt, I think, since the time where I was younger, which is just simply sitting down and realizing where exactly I am in the current moment, and realizing that this is where I am. I'm looking at somebody, I'm talking to them, I'm feeling a connection with somebody, which I don't always get. And again, that's all for me. That all comes down to feeling like, you know what, you're making how do you say it, like a valuable contribution to your life and someone else's life, because you're feeling like, you know what, I'm like, this feels like a really intriguing, interesting conversation where, you know what, I feel present. I feel like, you know what, this is where I want to be. So yeah, this was a very short podcast, honestly, because to me, it was just about giving tribute to the younger Karim, who, again, I'm pretty sure is somewhere here in this room. Just looking down, or at me, depending on where he is. Just looking down, smiling, and, you know what, being like, you know what, thank God that something switched in my life, and I took that initiative to actually, take a step forward in my life. And to me, whenever I think about a younger Karim, I always think about how weak he felt in a lot of times in his life. Weak physically, weak mentally, weak morally, everything. And there always comes a time in life where you need to defend yourself in whatever possible way. And I think now I'm getting to a place where I can, in every possible way, because I'm a lot more aware of where I am today. I'm a lot more aware of, again, how I want to live my life, how I want to let things be. and how I want to make the most out of myself as Karim. So I'm just gonna, as always, open up this notebook and write down a message to a younger Karim, because I think he is the hero of today's episode, in complete honesty, which is actually, as I was writing it, I remember something my therapist told me, which was in our last session. It was along the lines of, it's like a lot of times I want to cry, but I just don't. Not because I don't want to. It's just, I don't know. Internally, like unconsciously, I just hold it together. I don't know why. I don't know how. I don't feel it. But it rings home wherever I think about, again, just how much I've neglected you. And I don't want that to happen again, because it's not fair for you. At the end of the day, you're still part of me. You're still with me. And I need to treat you like I treat myself every day. You're not a separate person. You're part of who I am every single day. And while it's very tough to keep managing and to keep on checking in, the only thing that I can say is thank you for being patient, and for not, letting me be very negative with myself, for actually helping me remember how good things can get and how things eventually work out. And that's one of the biggest quotes I ever live by, which is everything works out. And you know what? You're that living proof of that. That felt great. So yeah, honestly, it was a very super quick episode, but I needed to get this out. I felt like this is, one thing that I feel we often don't do as people, put aside men, as people. I don't feel like I do it enough, or people around me do it enough. And I think it's always good to, to check in and talk to your younger self. It sounds crazy sometimes. I get that. But trust me, it does a world of difference, where you start checking in on yourself and you sort of remember your past and you remember your previous life, and and you just take it on. At the end of the day, what happened, it happened. That's true. But you can only change what's in your hands now. And what's in my hands now is taking care of younger Karim, and that's exactly what I'm going to be doing. And current Karim as well. So I hope you enjoyed this episode. It was, again, fairly short, but I felt like I needed to get this out of the way. And I'll catch you guys on the next episode.